What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode clip of Pree Da Podcast. And just a reminder that these are only shortened clips, and if you want to listen to the full episode, make sure you click the first link in the description below. Alternatively, you could type in Pree Da Podcast on all your audio listening platforms. And if you want to catch up with what goes on behind the scenes, make sure you follow our Instagram page at Pree Da Podcast. And without further ado, I'll catch you guys on the other side. We all know what's been going down the past 2 weeks. My man is gone.
He's a lawyer, not a leader. Captured, he has been jugulated, he has been reprogrammed. What he says is completely without any foundation.
He's desperate, absolutely desperate to avoid scrutiny.
More flip-flops than Bournemouth Beach. I'm also proud of the leadership that I have given. And I will be leaving, Mr. Speaker. I will be leaving soon with my head held high. Hasta la vista, baby.
You are now listening to Pree Da Podcast with your host, BoJo.
What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Pree Da Podcast. And you know what I'm going to say, Cameron? Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Because we're trying to build a community here. And by sharing this with your friends and family, that goes a long way in helping us do that. And without further ado, let's get into it. You mentioned something earlier about working lab workers. So what do you do for a job? You said you were a development technologist for engine oil, right?
Yeah. So, well, how I got into it, I studied chemistry at uni.
Oh, okay.
So I did like my integrated masters. It was like a 4-year course at Reading.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I enjoy chemistry. Well, kind of. But I was like, I kind of want to stay in the same industry. So I moved back to London, used that summer as an opportunity to start looking for work and thinking, I'd like to work in the lab for at least a year. And then I found an opportunity back in Reading. I was like, it's with one of the oil majors. I'm like, yeah, this would be really good for me.
Oh, sick. So what was it like? Someone came to you with it, or you just saw it and applied?
I think I saw it and applied, and then some came back to me, and then so I was like, well, I'm familiar with Reading. Let's do it. Let's work there for a year. 5.5 years later,
still in the job, still employed.
Yes, of course. But it was interesting because I've been promoted twice, which is really good. So now I'm a technologist. So we do product development of engine oils, mainly focused on automotive engines. So typically passenger cars, motorcycles, commercial vehicles. Mm-hmm. And the idea is like really a lot of the chemistry comes from the additives, and oil companies work with ad companies, and you work with.
Did you say ad companies?
Yeah. So so you would have heard about Adcos, or. Well, I assume you would have heard about Adcos.
No, what are they? So
additive companies, that's it. When you have an additive, that's where all the chemistry is. That's when you have like your performance chemistry, your wear to reduce wear in it.
Oh, so it'd be specific types of substances to put in the engine oil to stop certain things from happening?
So you might have like a detergent in the additive, and then that will help clean up the engine as it's running.
Okay.
To reduce the amount of like deposits. And
so would you say you can develop different types of engine oils to perform different types of functions?
You can definitely you can develop different types of oils to have different performance levels. Okay. So if you've got a Ferrari versus versus like a Ford or something, you're gonna definitely want your Ferrari to be performing on a top level because it's a
high performance car.
Yeah, and then so you adjust the oils that you're developing for that accordingly, and you have to meet like certain industry specifications and something called OEM specifications.
Okay, so I'm guessing you've probably helped develop engine oils for, I'm guessing, F1 cars maybe. You probably can't go into you can't disclose that if you can't. Like, I'm not asking you to disclose any information that's privy.
I will say that we have an F1 team. That we support. But I've never been supporting that F1 team.
Okay, would that be like a nice goal to at least be involved in something along those lines?
Potentially. For me, I'm still, I say, early in my career, so it's about taking that time to really figure out what I'm doing, learning, because there's a lot to learn about oil.
Yeah,
it's one thing that I've, that's one thing I've learned is there's so much more. You've got all these experts, and everyone's got a little bit of knowledge here and there, and it's so bespoke, you know. So I can become an expert in my field, and I could go somewhere else
and not know as
much. But because of the skills you learn, and because you're exposed to so many of the industry specifications, and just speaking to people, you can adapt and you can learn things.
Yeah, that's like with most jobs.
So I'm happy with my job. I like it, and it's different. It's niche.
Okay, so since you're involved in the oil industry, what do you think about these rising petrol and diesel prices? Like, do you feel like, for some reason, I just feel like it's artificially inflated, because these men are saying they're making more money in this quarter than they did in the whole past 2 years. They're having record sales and record revenues. So
there's different ways of looking at it, right? So for me, I'm just taking it as face value, because I don't know too many conspiracies about, this is just a cover-up, Ukraine is just a cover-up. So how I see it is, look, cost of living's gone up for everyone. These are all contributing factors. So let's start with Brexit. Yeah. Because Brexit is the underlying one that no one talking thinks about.
Do you know why? Because
coincided
with COVID. Because it's like we were supposed to be leaving. You know what? We'll get to BoJo in a second.
So we never really... I don't think we, and as the UK, really got to experience what the effects of Brexit were because of COVID. Now, it was literally the worst case scenario all in one. And in a weird way, it's kind of a good thing, because that was the worst it could ever be, COVID and Brexit at the same time.
True.
So, at the same time, it's awful. RIP everyone.
Yeah.
But, let's just move on from the fact that that's the worst it could be to where we are now. So, during COVID, a lot of oil companies took major losses. They're big companies, they kept a lot of their staff. My company, we went through a restructure that was probably already planned, but they took a massive loss. So I think that when they then report the next year that they've made a big profit, it's like, that's a good thing for the company, but they've not taken into account the previous year
losses.
So then there's also this expectation that they should now, because you've made so much money, you need to be taxed more. But they weren't taxed more the previous year. They're trying to recoup money from previous years. And I think if you're someone who's into economics, and you look at you base things on a period of time, you're not going to base it on just 1 year.
Yeah.
So for the everyday man, I hear it. I hear that why people say they should be taxed. But at the end of the day, they're a company, they're independent, and that needs to be a discussion held between the companies and the government.
Yeah, but these lobbyists, the oil companies got lobbyists.
Well, that's another thing entirely. That more leads towards, I guess, corruption and.
Literally, we were literally talking about it on the last episode with Top Air from America. She was just saying,
all money is blood money. You have to make so many concessions to stay relevant. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be like this vicious cycle.
Literally a company can say to this politician or this representative, hey, we can fund you £20,000 for your next campaign if you just put, a halt to this bill or this, legislative act that's going into Congress or Parliament next week. If you can whip up some votes against it, we'll do you a solid. And that's the grey area. So because we don't know, these are just speculations. We don't know.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know specific conversations. We don't know who those people are, but we know it happens.
We know it happens.
And that. But one thing we need to get right: it happens everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always have this like.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah, and that's just nepotism at its finest, So it's honestly, I think that's just human nature. Mm-hmm. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's who we are as human beings. We're awful people sometimes, but it's trying to. The aim is to always be better, and as long as you have that in your mind, then you can always progress. And it's sad to say, but this is a dog eat dog world, and It's a shame. It's a shame that not everyone can, succeed and do things fairly. But it's the world we live in, and it's not nice. It's not nice.
Yeah, man. Like, like this. There's just the cost of, like I said, the cost of living is just crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy, and obviously fuel on top of that, and then electricity as well.
See, the one thing I genuinely do think the Ukrainian war, I think that's affecting the oil price, because we've put all the we've put all the sanctions on Russia, who are they're responsible for
like a third of the natural gases and oil that was coming into the UK. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact figure, but there's a significant proportion, and when you've got a business or you've got a strategy set up to have a certain amount of supply from a specific provider, you need to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a backup plan, that's fine, but normally it takes a while to transition, and in that transition you have to then adjust for the market. So that's why I think the rise in petrol and diesel has got, I genuinely do think it's affected it,
because obviously these companies future buy oil, and fix the price at a certain point. So when they buy it, they can then buy it as a fixed price, because that enables them to budget for other stuff. Instead of fluctuating costs every now and again.
And then I think the underlying things like typical inflation, the price of bread and milk and stuff like that, everyone's like, why is that going up? That's got nothing to do with oil and gas. But you have to, the influence of oil and gas in the whole world is crazy.
Yeah, because obviously we need oil and gas to get the truck from the farm to the groceries or to the butchers. Got to get this shipment in that container, that container, and that's just
automotive. There's industrial applications of oil as well. It's the byproducts of crude oil, of refining crude oil to make plastics and to have
lubricant.
Give your meat a good old rub.
There's so many different areas and so many other companies that do little small things. So it's affected everything. So I think it's just a combination of Brexit, COVID, post-COVID, should I say, Ukrainian war, and just the fact that the economy was shattered by everything. Yeah. It's a combination of all things. And then one thing, we always look for a scapegoat. So we go towards companies. And it's a shame. It's a shame that for the everyday man that, they're making so much money and I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But that's why we have politicians, and that's their job to figure out.
Yeah, and that's their job to explain. But these guys are poor communicators.
Yeah, they're all, well, I don't want to express too much, but it's not been a good year.
It's not been a good year for the British Parliament with Mr. Boris B. Johnson. We all know what's been going down the past 2 weeks. My man is gone.
He's a lawyer, not a leader. Captured, he has been jugulated, he has been reprogrammed. What he says is completely without any foundation.
He's desperate, absolutely desperate, to avoid scrutiny.
More flip-flops than Bournemouth Beach. I'm also proud of the leadership that I have given. And I will be leaving, Mr. Speaker. I will be leaving soon with my head held high. Hasta la vista, baby.
Gone with the wind. He actually resigned. He resigned. No one kicked him out. No one said, "Oh, you're finished. It's time to go." No one said that to him. After everyone was saying that to him, the Labour government said, "Yo, you've effed up too many times. You've lied to the public. The rules, the parties, all your extramarital affairs."
You know what? He was giving me Invincible vibes. At one point, I thought, this guy is just never going to step down.
Have you seen the scene from Breaking Bad? Why does he keep getting away with it?
You can't keep getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it.
Why? He kept on getting away with it. Videos, audios, his cabinet ministers.
It was poor. It was
right-hand man, left-hand man, any man who was associated.
He could do whatever he wanted, and he's like, "Oh yeah, but this and but that." It's
it was. But I need to be the leader to get us through this. I need to be the leader to get us through Brexit and get us through COVID.
Enthusiasm, that all that crap. That's what got him to become Prime Minister in the first place. But he should never even been PM in the first place. Because that's what we should be focusing on.
Because it was Theresa May, right?
Yes.
She was the Prime Minister before him.
Yeah.
She was dealing with Brexit and how to get a deal. She couldn't get that deal done. They lost confidence in her. She resigned because of loss of confidence. And then Boris Johnson won because I feel like
he was a pro-Brexiter. You know, he was been pushing for that for years. You know, he was a mayor
and
of London. His ultimate plan was clearly
always to be Prime Minister.
PM. But when
no one saw it. Like back in the day, I didn't think he was going to be Prime Minister. I knew that's what he wanted, and it was clear that's what he wanted. Yeah, but I didn't figure out how he would get there
because he seemed too silly.
He was the class clown.
He was typically trying to do. He's a very smart man. That's one thing you have to give him. He was trying to be there, involved with the people. You see the little things of him. That's what rugby tackling the kid whilst playing football by accident, but then like making a joke of it, and he'd done cycling and just, you know, he's done so many different things. If you see all the videos, you think this guy is hilarious.
He was a celebrity. He was actually I would say the first parliamentary celebrity, because they were all, apart from Tony Blair and David Cameron to a certain extent, more Tony Blair. Tony Blair was like the first figurehead of what a political celebrity type looks like in the UK. We've seen it in, you know, America, but I feel like Tony Blair really brought that cachet to the PM spot and to politics in Britain. And Boris Johnson probably saw that and was like, okay, how can I work with that? You know, how can I, you know, be likable to the people? Because I would say everyone, you know, he has the tag of being a conservative, but I don't think people viewed him as a conservative. I think
he's one of the biggest conservatives.
He is. He definitely is. But people that before he got into power, people didn't see him as that. People just saw him as part of the Conservative Party, but they didn't, you know, align them together like their brothers and sisters.
I hear what you're saying.
So he was able to get in that way off, you know, just being a likable guy.
But you know what it is? I'm not even surprised about half the things he's done. You know, if you hear about the comments he said,
post boxes.
Yeah, you know, exactly. That's
just one.
That's just one of them. Pickaninnies.
Oh yeah.
You know, I should. You know, stuff like this. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy the fact that he got away with it, and everyone knows he said these things. Everyone knows he's been that type of person. He's always been arrogant. He's always been, you know, narcissistic.
Yes, definitely.
Now he's in power. He's going to be even worse. It's like, well, I've got the top job.
He lies every day. He lies through his teeth every day. He even lies to his missus. No, I wasn't with that young lady. I wasn't with her. But finally, he's out of office, and only God knows what happens next. Like, honestly, I don't know what happens. Well, imagine Pree Patel. Pree Patel as Prime Minister. Woo! That would be amazing. But everyone's going to Rwanda.
I don't think that will happen though. I think you know, it looks like Sunak's the favourite at the moment.
Who's that?
He's the ex-chancellor.
The ex-chancellor,
and it's because of him stepping down along with Sajid Javid. That was the initial step for all the other PM
to be like
MPs, stepping down, and that was the start of Boris's resignation.
Because
he couldn't survive.
Like, obviously we know everything that came over for parties and da-da-da-da, but it was only until his friends were like, these are his friends, because everything was happening and they were still backing him. These guys were still in power when everything was effing up, and one of them is going to be in power again. So do you think anything's going to change? Do you think... you can only hope.
It's hard to say. Like, look, this is a terrible time to take over as PM. So whoever takes the job, it's a hard job regardless. They're just going to go after them. Like, the media always do it regardless. The other MPs are going to be challenging whoever the PM is, because that's what you do, because they want the top spot as well. Yeah. You know, they're going to have the hard questions aimed at them all the time, and they still have to then meet the expectations of their party, you know,
and their own electorate.
So, you know, it's down to whoever that person is. They've got a big job, and I do not envy them. Yeah, so
Said I wake up every morning, pray to God that I'm fixing up. Hope I'm never slipping up. Hear the money calling, need my peace to start getting up. Feeling like I'm blessed, but it came with a bit of luck. Feeling like you stressed, then the tension starts to fill you up. Need an intermission, yeah, they ain't the same lane as us. Come from different sticks, yeah, they're not the same range as us. They cop the pleas and top of teas, they're not hitting range with us. Keep a couple fairy